So, dear students, this is Venkatachalapathi, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. I would like to discuss on definition and terminology in the manufacturing process. The topic is casting, metal casting process. Actually, the main intention of preparing this video lecture is the student able to understand how do you write the definition, terminology in a metal casting process, and what is the outcome before understanding this definition and terminology. Generally, a student he can able to understand the importance of manufacturing sciences in day-to-day life and study the basic manufacturing process and tools used. So especially in this topic, after completion of this course, manufacturing technology or manufacturing process, the student, he or she able to make a identify any type of, if you given any component, he or she able to identify the component is made up of this casting process or fabrication process or metalworking. Like that, he or she should able to identify that exact known manufacturing technique. Then only he or she can able to have some creative thinking and creative idea to design a component. Okay, so the main course outcome of this subject is in order to the steps involved in making a casting the desired pattern for automobile industry components, cylinder heads, and some of the engine blocks, connecting rods, etc. So here let us see, I would like to discuss some of the various definitions and terminology used in metal casting process. Based on understanding these definitions, the student can be useful while attempting any competitive examinations or writing the what you called some university examinations. Even for attending the Viva OC also, this may be useful to present it effectively. Okay, now let us see the definition and terminology in metal casting process. So for example, you can see define the dry sand mold. So in general, the student can able to write what the question they asked. So generally the basic definition of a dry sand mold, we can know that all parts of the molds are dried in an oven before being reassembled for the casting. So let us see, I have mentioned here three different type of sands. One is loam sand, second one is green sand, and third one is dry sand. So in all these three type of sands and all, wherever you can able to perform, how you can able to define the term dry sand mold. So all parts of the mold are dried in an oven by taking an oven by putting some heating and all, it will open to the air and it will be dried and it can be used for reassemble for the casting. So similarly, you can take another question like how do you define the term choke? So choke means it can be defined as it is the deep area after sprue to guide the molten metal to travel in runner. So especially choke also one important definition for in a metal casting process. It is just after sprue to guide the molten metal to travel in a runner. So this is what about when you are studied in the designing of the gating system, that is sprue, riser, ingate, SRI. So sprue, riser, ingate. While designing this gate, you need to understand also how you can able to prepare the choke. This is a deep area after sprue to guide the molten metal to travel in the runner. So whenever it is in a pressurized system, one type of ratio will be followed, and unpressurized system, for example, you can see 1:2:2. We'll call it as a unpressurized system. Unpressurized system in this is 1 is for sprue, 2 is for runner, and another 2 is for the ingate. So obviously the sprue ratio is less than that ingate. That is called unpressurized system. Unpressurized system. Suppose if it is a pressurized system, 1:2:0.5. This we can call the pressurized system. pressurized system. In this case, what happened, so always the gate ratio is less than the sprue. So that is what about the pressurized system. So like that, even if you have some terminology, you need to understand clearly to explain in the examination. But while designing any manufacturing process also, you should able to know some technical terms, definitions, and how the terminology is used to analyze it. Okay, and let us see the what is a flask. So flask, or you can also call this is the simple three-dimensional diagram of flask, or it is a cope or drag box. Cope, drag, box. So this is the box where you can able to perform mold making. That is how we can prepare the mold cavity using this drop box and cope box. So this is called a flask. It is a completely metal or wooden frame without fixed top or bottom, in which the mold is formed. So wherever inside you can keep the molding sand, either it is a green sand or dry sand, and whatever the requirement of the application, you can suppose to pour that molding sand. So in general, the molding sand, which may be comprised of different type of silica and bentonite and other type of things to be performed. Okay, that is what about. And one more thing is another technical definition is what is a potting line. So it is a one very important. The potting line can be defined as it is the separation of the flask. That is either drag or cope. You can able to separate the two boxes. You can sprinkle the sand, that white sand we can call that is a potting line. The potting line is separated from the two boxes or two flasks. That is called a potting line. And technically you can see this is the dividing line between the two molding flasks that makes up the mold. That is called simple in potting line. And what about the molding sand? So the molding sand also, which binds strongly without losing its permeability. That is, permeability is one of the this sand properties. You need to have a permeability, compressibility, and refractiveness and cohesiveness. These properties also very very important to have a proper materials. Okay, and this molding sand, which is a mixture of silica sand, that is what I have been explaining, and clay, moisture, and appropriate proportions, that is called the molding sand. Okay, so like that, the student can able to know the some technical terminology and definitions where you can able to write in the examination point of view, or even if you write the some technical proposals also, this may be widely used. Okay, now let us see these some other different type of definitions for the some basic technical terms. Let us see the what is a facing sand. What is facing sand? The term facing sand can be defined as it is the small amount of carbonaceous material sprinkled on the inner surface of the mold cavity to give the better surface finish to the castings. Especially the small amount of carbonaceous material sprinkled. So that is why facing means it is like a silica white type of sand. You can sprinkle in between the two flasks. So that it can be easily separated by which is drag, which is cold. Suppose if you are using three-piece pattern, we can one more box, one more flask, can call it as a cheek box. So there is a three-piece pattern where you can use three type of patterns. Okay, one is drag box, second one is cope box, in between is cheek box. Okay, so this is what this is cope, drag, and cheek box also will be provided. Okay, so like this, the student can able to understand clearly how to project the exact terminology for the various casting terms and all. And another interesting one is what is a core. So in general, any complex shapes, when you wanted to make a hollow portion, you should provide cores. Either it may be sand cores or ceramic core or plastic core, any type of core to be used. While pouring the molten metal, it may be, while removing that thing, it may be disturbed. It will be broken then, so that the hollow portion will be occur. So technically, how we can define the term core? a separate part of the mold made up of sand and generally baked. So it is interesting. It should be baked so that it may be some good strength, and which is used to create the various shapes cavities in the castings. Wherever the hollow portion is there, obviously you can able to use some course. So in general, there are another two important terminologies there. There is a chills and choplets. Wherever the chills are used to support the chills are used to directly solidification, whereas choplets are used to support the course. So the choplets are in a different shape, like I type. These are the some choplets, and these are to support the course. Wherever you can provide the core, you should add these choplets to support the course in order to not disturbing the mold cavity and all. So like that, you need to explain clearly in the examination point of view. And another thing is what is meant by a sweep molding. How do you define the term sweep molding, especially where the sweep pattern can be used, the bell-shaped items, especially bell-shaped in temples and all, that type of pattern can be used in a sweep mold. So here there is a cavity, and you can see the how we can able to provide this vertical ejector, and this is a some cross section, and how the choke box are these are the sand or bentonite and mixing of silica and what you call water, and some of the bentonite mixtures also added together. Okay, so that is called about in general. Sweep molding can be defined as this. These are the shape of the surface revolution along the fixed axis in a 2D format. So that is why some bell-shaped items and all can be made up of for this process. And another interesting thing, what is meant by a slick? The term slick can be defined as it is a small double-ended tool having a flat on one end and a spoon on the other end. That is called a simple slick. So if a student can able to easily understand, look at the some clear understanding of the how they can prepare the mold cavity and how the molten metal can be poured through this metal casting process. You can see these are the some guide supports, and first this is called drag box, this is called core box. Okay, and they separated by a parting line, and there will be, this is called sprue basin, and this is sprue and runner and ingate and riser. This is this is a core, we will call this is core for making the hollow portion. So technically you can able to understand clearly a simple metal casting process where you can prepare the mold cavity and how they can pour the molten metal through ladle. This is called the ladle. At least you should understand clearly about the terminology of all the casting terms, so that you can able to understand, you can able to focus effectively in the examination point of view. So that is what about this mold with the different classification of the parts. Okay, and let us see the how we can define the term runner. What is a runner? So this is a channel through which the molten metal carried from the sprue to the gate. That is what here you can see, sprue to the gate is called actually SRI ratio, sprue, runner and ingate. So these are the very important terminology while designing the gating system. These three are very, very important, and above the sprue there will be a sprue basin, so that any that slag and all will covered in that sprue pouring basin. Then the free flow clean fluid only it will enter to the sprue and through runner and ingate and enter into the mold cavity. So and some vent holes also provided by using vent rod and all in order to escape the gases from the mold cavity. Okay, so that is what about the this terminology in the metal casting. Okay, and now let us see some of the different terminology in the metal casting process, how we are supposed to explain. So let us see the what is a rammer. So rammer means by pressing the sand, it uniform pressure. Okay, the if for improper ramming also it leads to some casting defects may be occur. So generally the rammer can be defined as it is a wooden tool used for packing or ramming the sand into a mold. So there will be some mold. Okay, so there is a two boxes one, and the ramming means it just like this, it is a rammer. Okay, so you can apply the pressure by uniform compressing of this mold material, so that the rammer, this is called a rammer can be used to packing the material effectively in the sand mold. Okay, and what about what is the vent on the mold? This also I have explained, especially the term vent rod or vent holes mainly in order to escape the gases. It is a small opening in the mold to facilitate or escape of air gases inside the molten metals. Okay, so and that is the one vent on the mold means vent holes can be prepared using vent rods. Okay, and another interesting, define the term liquid shrinkage. Here I would like to share one important thing. So generally there will be some allowances are there. Okay, why you have to provide these allowances? All metals will shrink except bismuth. So the generally in shrinkage allowance, when you wanted to measure exactly some 100 size of length, you should add some plus or minus 10 or 5 to get the final while pouring the molten metal. So if you are not adding the shrinkage allowance, this dimension will reduce to 95 5 can be reduction will be occur. Even our clothes also, if your new shirt will be very comfort, when you put it on the water, the next usage automatically it will shrink. Exact the 42 size will become 41 like that. Even in this mold also, the liquid shrinkage, whenever by pouring the molten metal, it may be shrink, either extraction and contraction. So again the shrinkage can be classified into three types: solid to solid shrinkage, solid to liquid shrinkage, and liquid to solid shrinkage. There is a three different type of shrinkages are available. So technically it is a reduction in volume when the metal changes from liquid state to the solid state at the Solidus temperature. That is the technical definition where you need to project in the examination point of view. Okay, and again, what is a solid shrinkage? So this is also it is a reduction of volume caused when the metal loses temperature in the solid state. When the metal loses its temperature in the solid state, we will call it as a shrinkage. And how do you define the term centrifugal castings? Here, the centrifugal casting, one of the most important special casting technique, wherever the best application for centrifugal casting is spun pipes, okay, and manhole, okay, manholes and all, you can able to use this centrifugal casting. So the main principle involving in centrifugal casting is centrifugal force, centrifugal rotating and extracting. So the rotating with the centrifugal force and it will extract whatever the shape. The extraction will be, speed will be more, the thickness will be less, the speed will be less, the thickness will be more. So depending upon that, you can able to maintain the speed of that machine. Okay. So this centrifugal casting, generally it is a simple in, this is the pouring basin, molten metal is poured under here. There is no mold in this centrifugal casting. Only by pouring the molten metal, it will rotate and extract, and at the walls only they can able to full, and finally the cylinder type of components can able to produce. Whenever the increases, what will happen? Thickness can be reduced. When it is speed can be reduced, thickness can be increases. That is what about the main principle involved in centrifugal casting is centrifugal force is the one of the important, so that you can able to obtain. Okay, the molten metal is poured into the mold, so while they are rotating with centrifugal forces. That is what about the centrifugal casting. Next, let us see the another interesting one is the what is meant by casting yield. So this is a casting yield can be defined as it is the ratio of weight of the casting to the weight of poured the metal into 100 percentage. The casting yield can be generally how much weight of the casting, and initially you know that what is the weight of the casting while designing the that product, and after pouring the molten metal is exactly the same, or it has been increased or reduced based on that. You can get the percentage. If you multiply with 100, you will get the percentage. 90% casting yield there, or 99% is casting yield there. If the casting yield is percentage can be decreases, what happens? Short fill and unfilled, some drawbacks also will be occur. Casting defects also may be occur. So obviously the casting yield should be good. So then only whatever the component to be making in the metal casting, exact good casting may be obtained. So now another interesting one, explain the cause of blowhole. So that is what I am discussing. All the process, it is not 100% good components. There will be some flaws and imperfections will be there. That imperfection because of the temperature and because of the ramming, because of the chemical composition in that molten metal. All these things should be considered. Based on that, lot of what you call drawbacks will be occur. So in that, one of the most important one is blowhole. So the term blowhole means, so for example, you can see like this hole in casted product may be occur. The blowholes mainly it causes because of moisture and slag inclusion. Some slags will be included. That part may be some hollow portion will be occur. That is why blowhole may be occur. Okay, and in general, how do you define the term casting? So generally, the term casting means first you should need to understand there will be a pattern by using pattern making, then mold cavity preparation, then molten metal bringing from the furnace to this mold cavity, pouring the molten metal, giving the solidification time, then short blasting techniques. Short blasting technique means remove the runner and riser and get extra material and all will come out so that you can able to use effectively. So that is what about the this casting. So technically, how do we define the term casting? Means casting is a manufacturing process in which the liquid metal is poured into the mold. So for example, you can see this is a mold, yes or no, and where you need to pour. You can need to pour the molten metal, and there will be a sprue, runner and ingot, and this is the sand mixing properly, and this is a pouring basin. So okay, so this is what the casting is a manufacturing process in which the liquid metal prepared through any type of furnace, either cupola furnace, electrical furnace, or what you call induction furnace, depending upon the application they can select the different type of furnace also. If a lot of mold cavities are prepared, you can obviously go for that cupola furnace, because 2 hours they can prepare more amount of molten metal, and that pouring time also very important while designing the pouring molten metal pouring. You should be able to calculate the pouring time, exactly how much time is required to pour the molten metal from furnace to the mold cavity. So even 1 second also cannot be variation. If that can be varied difficultly, some defects also may be occur. Okay, so that is why casting is a manufacturing process in which liquid metal is poured into the mold, which contains hollow cavity of the desired shape, and then allowed to solidify. The solidified part is known as a casting. So which is rejected or broken out the mold to complete the process, that is called the casting. So simple technical definition, only the pattern The term pattern again is the replica of the original casting, and molten metal preparation and mold cavity, either hand molding or machine molding technique, and giving solidification time. After giving the solidification time, then again you can short blasting technique, you can remove the extra materials like runner, riser and ingate, etc. And that is what, because of effective implementation may be occur. And technically, another interesting one, what is a pattern? The term pattern can be defined as it is an approximate duplicate of a final casting used from mold cavity. In other words, the replica of the original casting is also called as pattern. The term pattern can be defined as it is the replica of the original casting is known as a this pattern. So like these type of different type of technical terminology and definitions are very very important. These terminology, if you understand clearly, you can able to write either CAA exam or what you call semester examinations. You can project properly with the line diagrams and line sketches. You may score the more than 90%, even that is a critical subject. Okay, so that is why for especially for manufacturing process, each topic, okay, each module have a different definitions are there. That technical definitions you need to understand and project with your own languages with the simple sentences. So this is what about the definition and terminology in metal casting process. Let us see these are the some major the main outcome of this thing is, if you know all those things, generally you can able to design the pattern, making the component, either it may be automobile industry or aeronautical industry or any other some what you need for technical components, the like such as a cylinder heads, engine blocks, connecting rod, and so many components also can able to done. The complex shape parts only we can prefer this metal casting process, because the pattern once you can prepare it can be used multiple repeated uses. Even if you use the wooden piece pattern, it is only a limited number of components only can be produced. After repeated usage of the wooden piece pattern, what will happen? Again, that pattern some remedy you have to rectify. You can do the some service of the wooden piece pattern. So if suppose if you wanted to make a more number of 1 lakh components, obviously you can go for the metal piece pattern. So in the metal piece pattern, obviously large production, okay, so large production rate can be performed. Even that is why that whatever that product metal piece pattern, that metal piece pattern can be multiple uses. They can able to give the some consultancy or some what you call for company to company, they can you can able to produce some 50,000 components. For that much charge only they will give the, they will supply the patterns also with the high quality patterns. Okay, good dimensional accuracy pattern, so that that final component also very accurate and you should get the good dimensional accuracy can be obtained. So this is what about the basic important definition and terminology of the casting process. Similarly, you can able to project some of the what you call fabrication, welding process, and some other process, uh, metal forming process in extrusion and 3D printing, and the last forging process also. You need to discuss. You need to refer various definitions and terminology which may be useful for your designing a component, or you can able to understand the basic concept and application of the any manufacturing process. Okay, so I hope the student can understand clearly about the terminology and definitions of the metal casting. In the next coming classes, I would like to explain the other topics such as fabrication process and metal forming process, 3D printing and forging technique. Okay, so this is what about my topic. Thank you for your understanding. Okay.
Like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.